replace humans? Sometimes, yes. Siri, Alexa, Cortana, and Google Assistant. These are all forms of AI or artificial intelligence, but AI extends far past voice-activated assistants. AI is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems, and almost all businesses today employ some type of AI, some more complicated than others. AI can be categorized as weak or strong. Weak AI is a system designed and trained for a particular task, like voice-activated assistance. It can maybe answer your question or obey a programmed command, but can't work without human interaction. Strong AI is an AI system with generalized human cognitive abilities, meaning it can solve tasks and find solutions without human intervention. A self-driving car is an example of strong AI that uses a combination of computer vision, image recognition, and deep learning to pilot a vehicle while staying in a given lane and avoiding unexpected obstacles, like pedestrians. AI has made its way into a variety of industries that benefit both businesses and consumers, like healthcare, education, finance, law, and manufacturing. In fact, many technologies incorporate AI, including automation, machine learning, machine vision, natural language processing, and robotics. The application of AI raises legal, ethical, and security concerns. For instance, if an autonomous vehicle is involved in an accident, liability is unclear, and hackers are using sophisticated machine learning tools to gain access to sensitive systems. Despite the risks, there's very few regulations governing the use of AI tools, but experts assure that AI will simply improve products and services and won't replace us humans anytime soon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the July 17th edition of Beyond the Headlines. My name is Colin Dowe, and I will serve as your host on this discussion of the impact of new technologies and artificial intelligence and the opportunities, challenges and opportunities, particularly for youth. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, whether you're at your home, in one of the local bars, or elsewhere, whether you're looking at us on GBN Television, listening on GBN Radio, or any of our social media platforms. Welcome. It is indeed a pleasure to have three esteemed gentlemen to discuss artificial intelligence, new technologies, and its impact that we can anticipate here on us in Grenada and certainly the wider Caribbean and developing states. I can assure you of one thing: they're all real, they're all human. And I first of all will invite Cameron to introduce himself and his portfolio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dowe, and thank you to the team at GBN for inviting me to be here. My name is Cameron Corian, and I am a digital communication strategist, and I work with organizations and brands to design and execute digital communication and social media strategies and campaign to drive overall business outcomes, as well as conduct capacity development for organization in the digital media space. So that's who I am in a nutshell, and happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Cameron, and thank you certainly for joining us. Chad?
Well, my name is Chad Fraser. I am the CEO of Sonova. We're a local software company, and we really work with organizations, governments, businesses to optimize the way they work, leveraging the best and the greatest in technology. Mm-hmm. So, we've been operating here in Grenada for the last 11 years this year, all right, and I'm very happy to be invited to be a part of this discussion. I think it's a very timely discussion, so I'm looking forward to our discourse.
Brendan?
Good evening. Thanks so much for having me here tonight. Pleased to say good evening, Grenada. I'm founder and CEO of Brazen Group. Brazen Group are Salesforce implementation experts. We design, implement, and support software solutions for organizations, from businesses, nonprofits, governments, everything from sales, marketing, and customer service, built on the #1 CRM in the world for businesses called Salesforce.
Okay, and let's kick off. what is artificial intelligence? We're probably sometimes a little bit nervous, and so if you can just give us as well some examples, familiar examples of AI in use.
Happy to provide those examples. If I can just start with the vision a little bit. Grenada is my home. My friends and family are Grenadians. I'm lucky to be married to a Grenadian. And my vision for this technology for Grenada is truly that AI and cloud technology can be a new chapter for humans. And this technology can unlock potential that was previously unimaginable. For Grenada can write itself as the legends of the story in this next chapter as we turn the page. It's an opportunity for us to reverse brain drain, to provide fulfilling and rewarding careers for our talent here on island, from our island. Some examples of AI, to get back to your question, are those that we're familiar with: Siri, Alexa, those that many of us have now tried. ChatGPT by OpenAI is a form of conversational generative AI, which means that it can provide content, whether it is a poem or, in some instances of AI, an image or video that's generated for us. It's a conversational type of AI specifically, which means that we don't have to give it code and input specific. We can speak to it like we speak to one another, and it understands and interprets that. So
that gets me a little bit worried. So it comes to my next question. Is AI something we should fear? I mean, we all looked at the movies where robots are taking over the world. So should we be nervous about AI?
We need to prepare. With great power comes great responsibility, as is said, and this is our chance to have the most powerful tool in human history. Accordingly, there's going to be opportunities that have never been conceived of before in business, in science, in education, and we need to meet those opportunities, welcome them and embrace them, and also prepare for the risks and the threats of the changes that will inevitably come to our society.
Chad, along the same vein, why this stir? And make the distinction as you respond between new technologies, which we seem comfortable with that term, and artificial intelligence, which we kind of get nervous about.
Right, and so artificial intelligence is one of the latest buzz around technology, and the main difference comes in the way it's developed and the way it's designed to solve a problem. So traditionally, software is built and its functions are enabled using code. So we hear about coders and programmers or so, writing specific instructions to say, hey, when this event happens, I want this action to be taken. AI, on the other hand, is software that is trained. All right, like a child, you show it many examples, or you give it many examples of what you want it to learn, and it actually learns. And over time, it becomes very good at learning. OpenAI and ChatGPT, that we're very familiar with, was trained on a very large data sets. Data sets meaning a large amount of data. And as it was trained on the internet and all this content that we generate, it developed the ability to understand it very well. And that's why it's so powerful. That's why they're able to complete our sentences and create new content, is because it really understands the semantics of our language, of content, and so that's created by humans. So it really comes down to how it's developed and trained, and that unlocks new possibilities for what we can do with software. And to give you an example, if we all use a WhatsApp, and when you click on this little button, it does something, right? The code embedded in WhatsApp tells it what to do to send that message to a colleague. When you deal with an AI, right, you give it a prompt, and there is no clear determination on what exactly it would do. It determines what it will do on its own based on what it learns and what it understands and what it thinks it should respond. All right, so that's the fundamental difference. And as I said before, this unlocks new possibilities for things that understanding things that even we don't have answers to. We could present with the data, and with leveraging this understanding of.
These new technologies should be familiar familiar with it, embrace it, or is it continues to be a challenge? You said it could understand. And you start telling me now, an inanimate object can understand, I start getting worried. Right? That was restricted and reserved for us as humans. So, should we be embracing this, or is it something that we should be nervous about?
I think personally, from our engagement with the technology so far, I believe that if it's the society or the person that does not embrace it will be left behind. Mm-hmm. I believe it's a new tool similar to, it's very different, it's totally different scale, but similar to when calculators came out. Mm-hmm. It presented a new capability to be able to do very complex calculations in milliseconds. Mm-hmm. And, imagine living today without embracing that technology. Right. So I believe 5 years into the future, not even all that, maybe 2 years into the future, if we have not yet embraced technology, that particular technology, you would be like that one person in the class who is not using a calculator.
Well, the hope I still get this up right. Let me just bring you in here and tell us, how do you see your field of communications changing with the implementation, adoption of AI?
Yes, happy to give you some more insight into that part. So AI can greatly impact communication and communication strategies in many ways. It can automate and optimize various aspects of communication, provide personalization at scale, improve customer service, making internal communication more efficient. But specifically, the big thing that we're going to see is, one, in terms of content creation, right? So AI can help in creating content such as press releases, social media posts, email newsletters, blog articles. Tools like GPT-4 can generate text-based can generate text based on prompts that you can give it, that makes it very easy for businesses to produce consistent content. Then we start looking at customer service. We start looking at automated customer service. So we're gonna have we have now AI chatbots and virtual assistants that can handle many customer service inquiries, which frees up humans and human agents to focus on more complex issues. There are AI tools that can provide 24/7 support, as opposed to having a human that is available for 24/7. We're talking about sentiment analysis. AI can analyze text and voice data to understand customer sentiment, which aids in your overall communication for how you want to go ahead and communicate with them. So this could help businesses, gauge public opinion about their brands, their products, their services, and adjust or tailor their communication accordingly. And even internal communication as well, right? AI can help to optimize internal communication. For example, it could analyze communication patterns within a company to identify whether there are bottlenecks or inefficient practices, and suggest ways for improvement. So definitely, as it relates to communication and communication strategies, AI will definitely have an impact there.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks. And you actually gave a nice segue to Brendan, because your company focuses on improving efficiencies utilizing the Salesforce platform. How do you see AI impacting your work in that regard? Yeah,
the key benefits are going to be in productivity. Businesses are constantly looking for ways to improve their insight into the data they have and have gathered. They're looking for automation to be able to increase the amount of work that individuals are able to get done on their teams, as well as alignment between their team members. Those are three of the ways that these systems are already coming into existence and starting to impact workforces today. AI is not a technology that just started, even though many of us have just seen it or interacted with it in the first most tangible way as they have now. AI has been used for insight in Salesforce technology to do lead scoring, to understand the probability of somebody moving forward towards a sale. And there are hundreds of millions of these predictions that take place daily on that platform alone. Extending from sales reps are currently spending a lot of their day writing emails, creating proposals, and reaching out to customers. AI is being used to generate that content, help that sales rep be more effective in establishing the relationships that they do, and ultimately moving sales forward for their business and providing better customer service for their customers.
Okay. I mean, I'm familiar with Salesforce because that's the tool I use daily in terms of our own work. And I'm throwing this one out to all of you gentlemen. And so I'm going to call a discipline and just tell me how you believe it can be impacted. I'll start off with you, Chad. Healthcare delivery. How do you see AI being utilized? And let's focus because, when Brendan started off, he said that this can be a game changer. Grenada can write its legacy in the next era. So as you frame the use of AI in the various disciplines, let's think Grenadian, let's think Caribbean.
Yes, so that's an area I'm actually very passionate about because I see it's really green, it's really ripe for that type of innovation. We have a lot of medical records, data, past historical treatment and protocols of exercise and the results of them. So that we have a lot of data that could be really leveraged for healthcare. And I could see a future where a doctor in the hospital, goes on the system, puts in symptoms, maybe that they're having difficulties in diagnosing, and the system is able to look at these symptoms and understanding its history of all the work that was done on patients in the past, suggests possible diagnosis and also protocols that would have worked in the past on patients. And normally right now that requires you having to go to records, try to find previous cases of a particular type, and then go back and analyze it and see what could be done. But I could see a future where all it takes is putting in the test results, putting in the symptoms, and you have data, information based on the data presented to you that would really help you solve. Also in diagnosing very rare and difficult cases, here the average doctor probably in their lifetime might see a couple thousand patients. Imagine having access to an intelligence that has seen millions and millions of cases. Let's talk about super specialists, right? So I could envision us leveraging those types of platforms to be able to really help our people diagnose very difficult cases, and if we were to stretch it a little further, even provide tools for persons to be able to really engage on their own, leveraging sensors and data from tests and so forth to help them live a healthier life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kimran, I don't know if you want to weigh in here because we're hearing from Chad data management in terms of health records. We also heard one of diagnoses, both diagnoses by physicians utilizing AI, but also some self-prescriptive things. So your smartwatch probably can be feeding information on your well-being, which can feed into a general database that can assist. Anything else you see AI assisting in terms of healthcare delivery?
Absolutely. So in addition to diagnosis and prediction, we also could have treatment personalization. So by analyzing a patient's genetic medical history, their lifestyle, and many different factors, AI can help physicians and doctors design personalized treatment plans. This would be great in many fields, and even looking at remote monitoring and like telemedicine. AI, you spoke about smartwatch and so. Let's look at AI-powered wearables and other remote monitoring tools that can track a patient's health in real time. That can alert, let's say, a healthcare provider if there are any, concerning changes with their patients. And just kind of going back a little bit to what Chad spoke about when it comes to disease diagnosis and prediction. No, the AI system can be trained to analyze, medical images such as, let's say, X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and so or any other data that a doctor might have, and to detect signs of diseases, and they can often spot, little subtle things that the human might miss, that could potentially lead to an earlier and more accurate diagnosis. And additionally, the AI, when we're speaking about healthcare, AI can be used to predict the likelihood of a disease based on a person's genetics, their lifestyle, and other factors. So definitely, I can see AI having a significant impact where healthcare is concerned. And let's not forget administration, right? AI can help to streamline many administrative tasks, such as scheduling appointment, managing patient records, processing insurance claims, and other things like that, which is sort of similar to other businesses. But again, the healthcare administration is also another part. So that's how I see AI playing a significant part in healthcare.
Excellent, thanks. Brennan, you can add, because we had wearables, we had the administrative tasks coming in here, as well as things like radiology and the like, reading of the x-rays. So anything you would like to add healthcare, and then I'm going to segue into AI's impact on education. So that would be my next theme.
Happily. These two gentlemen are exactly right. Personalization is one of the key components that AI is going to offer as a benefit. To have medical services and education, when we speak about it, personalized to the end user in the degree that is going to be possible will be completely unique. Also, the ability to take ownership of one's own healthcare, to have not just your own awareness of your data, but your preferences, to work with what could potentially be your super assistant in your healthcare, to take ownership of your own health, could revolutionize the way people look after themselves. I have a mother-in-law. I'm her IT and tech support, when dealing with WhatsApp and things of that nature. Love her dearly. And this technology, because it's becoming more and more accessible, at the same time it's becoming so powerful, would allow her to do things like sharing the necessary data with her doctors, doing the scheduling, doing the follow-ups, prescription checks to make sure that there aren't conflicts, get the data that shows that she's following the prescriptions and necessary actions, all on her own and all simply in a technology that's going to be accessible to her. I'll still help, but won't be necessary quite as often. The other element, since you asked me early on about fears and the risks of AI, when we talk about healthcare data, some of the most sensitive data that we have, AI needs to respect the data limits. That comes into part of the policy and compliance components that need to be built into AI systems. AI can both be a risk and part of the solution in that. AI can be taught to recognize sensitive information and therefore not include it, not expose it when it's sending over the information for scheduling between doctors' offices. So it's both a risk and an opportunity that can be addressed with this type of technology.
Okay, all right. And we'll delve a little bit more into the risk, etc. Shortly. But one of my other pet areas, and probably it's a bias here, I started off with healthcare, now I'm going education. Okay. So how can AI improve and impact the education system?
We're long overdue for a change in the education system. Personalization, allowing students to learn what is meaningful to them. Part of adjusting to the risks of changes to how we're going to work in the long term as a society is going to be shifting from teaching people how to be a good worker to understanding what the future of work is going to look like. We're already embracing remote work, previously unexplored. That's a reality for Grenada that wasn't true a few years ago. Education needs to catch up and embrace the future of work, needs to take into account that jobs are going to be different. soft skills are more important. They're harder to replace when you look into automation. So we need to focus on training those along with STEM research and empowering Grenadians to participate in the AI revolution.
Chad, if you can add, with speaking education and some of the risks as well, but share us how it's going to be operationalized. So when we speak in terms of the impact of AI, what are some of the things we can look forward to? That's occurring now, but certainly is coming.
Yeah, I think education in itself has to be looked at really seriously. Some of the skills that we're teaching, AI can do it faster and better than most of us can. I look at poetry, I look at some of this creative writing and just basic letter writing. We see AI is much more capable. They do it more consistently, more accurately than us. So I think just a serious relook at what is taught. And I like to say we go back to first principles. Why we educate? Right? We educate because we want to equip our children to be able to contribute to society, to be able to leverage their innate talent, innate skills. Now the question is, how can we do that, leveraging this new capability, right? And I think that discussion about needs to happen, and ultimately, I believe strongly it would lead to a real reform of how we approach education. How that would manifest itself, I believe in, as Brendan said, individualized learning. I could see a scenario where you have an AI, once you log into one of those e-platforms, that's able to really understand where the students' weaknesses are, and is able to provide personalized help for that student. Is able to provide additional activities, additional questions, additional learning. It might include also generating images that might explain it better for that student, maybe because of how they learn. Right. Take some written content and turn it into images that could better explain it to a student. So I could imagine that type of future where it's built into the tools and so that are used for education. Also, I think the way we teach would be changed significantly. I believe that more self-paced type learning would eventually emerge as it. And we've seen examples of where Form 1's doing CXE and those types of things where students, when they're good in particular areas, they're allowed to move on and progress at those. So I could imagine that type of future for education here.
Okay. Education, Cameron, and also I heard Chad trying to replace you because he said AI is better at poetry. You are a communications strategist. So if it's better at poetry, better at writing press releases and everything else. But we're going to get into the replacements and the jobs later. But the impact of AI in the field of education.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest one, I think both Chad and Brendan mentioned it, which is personalization. So I'm not gonna even touch deeper on that. But additionally, while we're speaking about education, we also need to look at enhancing accessibility. So AI technologies can make education more accessible to students with disabilities, for example. When we look at like text-to-speech and text-to-speech technologies, which could assist students who have difficulty with reading or writing. Let's look at also content development, right? So AI can assist developing educational content that is engaging, that is effective. For example, it can help teachers develop, interactive lesson plans, games, stimulation. Additionally, there's some other areas that we can use AI in education that we don't pay attention to heavily, which is like predictive analysis or predictive analytics. AI can be used to predict students' performance and potential outcomes, which can help educators and institutions intervene at an early stage if they realize that a student is at the risk of falling behind or dropping out. And I think someone mentioned it, but looking at tutoring and support, so AI-powered tutors can provide additional education support to students outside of the classroom hours. These systems can answer any kind of question. It can provide explanation. For instance, you can say to Chat GPT, I want you to act as a particular expert and ask it a series of questions that it will answer and clarify for you. So definitely AI will have a significant impact on education. But another thing that we have to look at is in some instances we find students using some of the AI tools to do the work for them. And that is where we have to be very careful when using AI in education, because we don't want a situation where a student has to write an essay and they just put a prompt in the Chat GPT and ask Chat GPT to write that essay for them, and they hand over that essay to the professor. So we have to have systems in place to monitor when those things happen. However, what they should be doing is using the AI to generate ideas for writing that essay. So these are some of the areas I see that AI can impact education.
All right, thank you for that. So we heard the personalization of education. We also heard diversity, equity, and inclusion. People with disabilities, etc. We heard an identification of individual learning styles and AI being able to respond. Let's say, for example, for the visual learner, you provide that, etc. And these are all key areas, as was discussed by our panelists, that can improve education. It is time for our first break, but let me also inform you, viewers, that you recognize Lotto didn't come before. So on this break, we'll take the NLA draw, and then we'll come back talking about new technologies, AI, and the impact we can anticipate moving forward. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the SMC's Crescendo to Grenada's Panorama 2023. And you see pan business, that is we business.
My name is Andrea Isdale. I am 21 years old and I am from St. Paul's. For me, playing pan was like second nature, because like any other community-based organization, when you grow up seeing your parents do something, it's natural for you to want to do it. So it wasn't a choice, it wasn't a decision. It was just a natural thing that I knew that I actually had to do. So it was no choice. At the pan yard, we have on Thursdays is our in-house pan yard liming day. So we have different things. So tonight is our cricket night. We have games night. We try to bring in persons to speak, to have motivational nights, to get players more inspired and wanting to play the pan more, and to have a greater love for the pan. So that's some of the things that we do. It's definitely okay to come and see us practice. We always put on a show, whether it's practice or performance or a gig. Our days for practice are Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m.
Do you know that you can lower your electricity bill by switching to energy-efficient appliances? By switching to energy-efficient appliances, you can help lower your energy usage. Your refrigerator, for example, is amongst the highest energy-consuming appliances within your home, as it remains running throughout the day and night. Switching to an energy-efficient refrigerator can lower your electricity bill by up to 40%. As an individual consumer, I cannot impact global fuel prices. However, I can ease the burden of rising fuel rates by switching to energy-efficient appliances. What can you do?
Grenlink, energizing our Grenada.
Grenada, the time has come for you to show your son Talbreed the love and respect for his contribution over the years. This is Pre-Day.
I am the jump off, certain things I end off. If I say to rep the place, then I will pay the damn cost.
Talbreed turns 50, a celebration of life, the black and the gold edition. Wednesday, August 9th, the National Stadium, supported by Voice and the Top 5 Band. Lyrical.
Look at how it arch, look
DJ. Farmer Nappy. Frank King Ding Dong. Groupie. Nyla Blackman. Problem Child. And a special guest appearance from two of the biggest soca superstars coming for Pre-Day. And all the Grenada superstars. Celebrity guest host, West Indies cricketer Dwayne Bravo. Get your $100 regular tickets or VIP $600 tickets now or pay more later. Gates open at 10 p.m. Showtime 11. Grenada. This is Pre-Day.
It's the 4th edition of Hubbard's Live Free for 1 year promotion. Cuatro Punto Cero. It's unbelievably amazing. You can win free fuel, free drinks, cash prizes, free property and vehicular insurance, free cable, TV and internet, free electricity, free coke, free water, free cooking gas, free paint supply, free passes to Sunshine Promotion events for 2023, free groceries, all for 1 whole year. And every winner receives a lunch package. Be sure to fill out the entry forms and enter it into the marked entry boxes at all Hubbard's departments and at participating outlets. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2023. Draws will be held every 2 weeks. Terms and conditions apply.
Freedom is driven to pursue that passion that keeps you up at night and makes you smile in your sleep. Freedom is bold to embrace the possibilities that can open up your world and conquer new heights. Freedom is fabulous, with bits and pieces that enhance the quality of your life. Freedom is what you do with the flexibility to change path or direction when you need to. Freedom breeds ambition and purpose while having loads of fun along the way. But most of all, freedom is well deserved for the road traveled and the journey still to come. Unleash your freedom with Nexa Credit Union. Offer ends August 31st, 2023. Call us on 440-1354 or visit our website to pre-apply. Apply now. Freedom awaits.
Good evening and welcome back, viewers and listeners. And we're speaking, of course, new technologies and AI, the opportunities and challenges that we may face. When we left off, we were dealing with AI and education. But as we return, Brenda and I will start off with you and cybersecurity and privacy. This is a big thing when it comes to AI. Cybersecurity in general is already a challenge, both for businesses and individuals. And now with this type of intelligence out there, are we going to be more vulnerable as institutions and as individuals?
Being candid, we're going to be facing new challenges. This is something where we have a mismatch between the pace of the technology and our organizations and civil institutions and their ability to adapt to that pace. Currently, business and organizations have an incentive that's aligned with running as fast as they can forward. Governments are trying to protect the rear and provide a safety net. And right now, it's not particularly well aligned. There are lots of smart people, lots of big organizations that are focused on this topic. I think that's the good news. Because of the success of conversational generative AI, it's caught the imagination of the public, and therefore people are asking these important societal questions. What does it mean to have my persona, if everything can be personalized to me, what has been exposed about me for that to take place? What is the meaning of my data? Is it mine, or is it the person whose company I checked the checkbox for? Key questions that we have to address. We have to align in addressing those as well. The big organizations in the world, the major players in AI, are currently coming together to create standards. The governments and organizations protecting civilians need to do the same. We need regional and global approaches to coming up with this, because a piecemeal approach is simply not going to get it done.
Right. And Chad, if you could just contribute and probably jump off on that. Am I me? Is my voice
yes,
mine?
Right.
The Screenwriters Guild was protesting very recently because of the fear that they have on job loss. But just in terms of the security issue, Tina Turner insured her legs for millions of dollars. Can we just recreate a Tina Turner car?
So I mean, we've seen what scams and scammers are doing, trying to emulate you, and when they hack you, create a lookalike Facebook account, and try to message people on your behalf. And really, that's rudimentary compared to what I believe AI would enable. I've seen examples where a recent paper released by Google where, with 3 seconds of audio, they can almost exactly replicate your voice and say anything like you. So imagine scammers and these, bad actors getting access to literally 3 seconds of you speaking and being able to call your mom or call your friend sounding like you. It's really a future that I think we need to prepare for, because it is coming. The capability is there. Literally right now you could go on 11 Labs and clone your voice and read any script out with your own voice. So how do we prepare for this? I think that's a real question that we need to ask from a security standpoint. How do we protect our citizens from bad actors who are able to create deep clones of any face or any voice and say anything and do anything? And how do you protect our citizens from situations where I may want to put you in a compromising position? What would the next election look like so this is something that is a real conversation that we need to have, and some ask for regulation, some ask for more oversight, and the exact answer I see comes down to one, having a discussion, and 2, being able to. Do we have the capacity to police it or be able to actually, detect it when there is a deep fake or when there is, one of those things happening on the internet or on social media, right? So I think also educating our people on, people believe that once it's online, it's true, right? And that mentality has to change based on what's happening. If we were to keep that mentality, it will work. Bad actors would use it successfully. So we need to start asking and questioning things that we see. And of course, I believe that we need to start building capacity here in Grenada, in the Caribbean. We need to really start developing training models, AI models, understanding how they work, understanding how to fine-tune them. So be able to create AI to detect material created by AI. Right? I believe that if we going to depend on the developed countries to solve our problem here, it's not practical, because they're already trying to deal with it on their end. So we had to figure out, how can we build those tools and so. And coming from the data side of things, it's a very, very important bit of conversation happening around, do I use an existing Google model and send my data there? If I have my healthcare data, and we are going to store and vectorize and do train and so on it, is it really secure? Is it, can someone accidentally do a prompt and accidentally discover things about me, right, in that data set? And then you have custody of the data. And that's why I go back to saying this AI revolution is happening, and we can't sit back and not train and create AI labs here, provide infrastructure to be able to train AI models, because we can't if we're looking at leveraging AI, and Brendan spoke about how we could be leaders, we can't be leaders by just leveraging existing models.
Right.
We have to be leaders by creating our own models that are tuned to us, that understands the way we speak, the way we pronounce our words, or colloquial words, the bon J, for example, right? So we need that capacity, and going back to education, I believe that's, AI right now presents so many opportunities for people to really look into those areas, training and fine-tuning models, just preparing data for training and fine-tuning, labeling. These are all areas I think we need to really look at.
Kimron, let me just bring you in here. So, I heard the challenges with cybersecurity and privacy as we were chatting. Chad brought in the whole idea of malware and the challenges that we have. People hack? No. Imagine if we have this technology, the number of scenarios that they can be presented, and as quickly as it can be presented in order to compromise systems. Your take and your sharing in how AI will impact cybersecurity, privacy issues, and how do we guard against it? Guard against it as a world, guard against it certainly as Grenada and the Caribbean.
Right. So now the first thing that I want to see on this is, even without AI, we have a serious issue where cybersecurity and so is concerned. Because many of our people, even without bringing AI into the conversation, are being scammed by some of the most basic, I would say, scams that we have online. And I know, so the first thing that people need to start doing is, especially in Grenada, is paying more attention to the information that's coming from the Grenada cybersecurity incident response team. That's Mr. Jarvis Dabrio and his team, because even without AI, we have a lot of issues with cybersecurity. But I know with AI, what that does is it makes it 100 times worse. And if we cannot deal with the issues that we are facing now, where cybersecurity is concerned right now, then imagine what's going to happen when we add AI to the mix, because we're going to have situations where malware are going to even some of the tools, the AI tools that are to be used for good, like ChatGPT, can actually write some of those malwares that can affect us. Even some of the phishing scams that we fall for now. If we have AI being added to the mix, then it makes it even 100 times more difficult to identify and to analyze and to catch. So yeah, as it relates to cybersecurity, AI is going to make it a lot more difficult. I know that there are some areas of when we're speaking about cybersecurity, such as the voice detection and so. I've noticed that some of the AI systems, I know Chad mentioned 11 labs and so, they haven't gotten to the place where they can fully replicate like a Grenadian or a Caribbean accent as yet. But I'm pretty sure that we're eventually going to get to that place. There was a news item recently where a mother was called, and with a ransom note. They said that they had kidnapped her daughter. Her daughter was safe in school or wherever, but because they had a copy of her daughter's voice, they were able to call and demand a ransom, and she thought her daughter was kidnapped and so on and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of issues where AI and cybersecurity is concerned. However, we can use the same AI. We can use the same AI to help us fight against some of those issues. So, for example, the same AI can be used to analyze data to detect whether you have anomalies and potential threats. So, threat detection and response, we can use the same data to help analyze that. Even phishing detection, the same AI can be used to analyze, let's say, emails and other communication to identify, different phishing attempts. It can look at the factors such as the sender's email address, the language used, and any links and so that are included therein that we, the individual, the human, that we don't pay attention to, even though we should be paying attention to it, especially if we are paying attention to the information coming from the Grenada CSIRT team. Even for example, password protection and biometrics, AI can help us improve the effectiveness of biometrics for authentication, such as facial recognition, fingerprint scanning, and so on and so forth. So while the AI can be used to exacerbate the threats and the impact of cybersecurity, it can also help us to enhance our cybersecurity efforts. So it's almost like it can work on both ends of the spectrums.
Okay, Brendan?
In the same way that it takes a village to raise a child, it's our society's responsibility to create informed digital citizens. We need to circle back to that education conversation. And luckily, we have already been engaging with Caribbean Coding Academy, with TAMCC. Their leaders are willing and eager to continue this conversation. As brilliant as my colleagues here on the show are, I think this is part of a much larger series of conversations that needs to take place and continue to take place within Grenada. It is through education, through exposure, and on behalf of the three of us, we all believe that as those who are exposed to the potential of this technology, it's also our responsibility to help broaden awareness, provide training that corresponds to opportunities, and then mitigates risks around this technology.
Okay. Chad?
Yeah, and there is this concept called alignment, right? Alignment speaks to aligning the AI